Good evening, Mayor, Council. As mentioned in a previous council meeting, members of staff and the mayor recently met with members of Johnson County staff, Commissioner Allenbrand, and a contingent of citizens from Gardner Lake to discuss project costs for Gardner Lake. Tonight's presentation will consider the potential costs for the spillway repair and dredging projects, as well as some potential avenues for cost recovery on these projects. One of these avenues is annexation of the properties surrounding the lake into the city of Gardner. In that scenario, road improvement costs will be considered as well. The properties included in these analyses are the properties within the immediate perimeter roads surrounding the lake, as shown in this picture, which has been broken into 8 distinct sections. Please note that these sections are not immediately relevant to the presentation. They are simply included for ease of reference when analyzing tax and other information for specific areas. One of the challenges of analyzing this area has always been the inconsistent property lines and boundaries. For example, this study included approximately 420 distinct parcels. Many residents own more than one adjacent or nearly adjacent parcel, several of which are bisected by roads, making it difficult to determine how assessments and other issues should be resolved. As you can see, those lettered H with the yellow background, those are all one property owner's parcels. For the purpose of this analysis, land owned by a single individual, including trust for that individual, even if differently named, are considered as one owner. This equates to approximately 233 owners. All analysis will be done by owner rather than by parcel in order to eliminate as much confusion as possible and to provide the most equitable and realistic cost analysis. With that background in mind, I would like to first review the estimated project costs for the proposed projects. Repairs to the spillway have an estimated cost of $473,673. This includes 50% payment towards eligible engineering and construction costs by Johnson County. Dredging has an estimated cost of $1.9 to $2.35 million. This figure is based on the most recent official sedimentation survey, which was conducted in 2004, and includes an increase in the total dredging yards by 20% to 109 to 132,000 to account for additional sediment infiltration during the past 19 years, as well as projected cost increases for dredging expenditures per cubic yard since the initial study was conducted. For the first scenario, an increase in dock fees, the cost projections will be focused on the spillway and dredging projects alone. As stated previously, costs for road improvements would be considered only in an annexation scenario. Currently, there are approximately 198 docks at Gardner Lake, each of which is assessed a current dock fee of $40 per dock. It should be noted that the numbers included in the upcoming analysis, 1, assume the full project cost will be assumed by dock owners, and 2, are based on principal alone. Adding in interest to cover the interest costs that will be incurred by the city as well would result in significant additional fees. At a project cost of $473,673 for the spillway, this equates to a cost of $2,392 per dock owner for spillway repairs. If the cost were spread over 5 years, this would equate to a cost of $478 in additional dock fees per year per dock owner, while spreading the cost over 20 years equates to approximately $120 in additional dock fees per year per dock owner. Since the cost for dredging is a range, a figure of $2 million will be utilized for these estimates. At a project cost of $2 million for dredging, this equates to $10,101 per dock owner. Spreading this cost over 5 years equates to a cost of $2,020 in additional dock fees per year per dock owner, while spreading the cost over 20 years equates to $505 in additional dock fees per year per dock owner. Combining the spillway and dredging costs together yields an estimated project cost of $2,473,673 or $12,493 per dock owner. Over 5 years, this is equivalent to $2,499 in additional dock fees per year per dock owner, while spreading the cost over 20 years equates to $625 in additional dock fees per year per dock owner. When considering these costs, there is some additional important context to bear in mind. First, you may have noticed the number of docks, 198, is not equivalent to the number of property owners, approximately 233, meaning that not all property owners within the area reviewed have a dock. Further, some property owners have multiple docks. Staff estimates that, in total, 58 of these approximately 233 property owners, or about 25%, do not have a dock and would not be subject to these fees. Additionally, it is possible that some owners may choose to remove their docks in the face of such significant increases, or may choose to remove any additional docks they may have, further increasing the potential cost burden on those with docks remaining. So as an example, we'll look at 2 sections. On the left-hand side, you can see the properties, and on the right where it's in red, those are properties that don't have docks for one section. And here's the same scenario for a second section. Another option for paying the necessary improvements to Gardner Lake is annexation of the properties at the lake. This would allow the city to use property tax revenue to fund improvements and/or to levy an assessment against property owners, as the city cannot levy an assessment on county properties. Based on 2022 appraised and assessed values provided by Johnson County, and assuming a mill levy of 18.854, the estimated property tax revenue for all properties combined is $176,433.52 annually. In an annexation scenario, an additional project would need to be considered. As the city of Gardner does not have appropriate equipment to maintain large amounts of gravel roads, the roads in this area would need to be paved. Assuming 12,290 linear feet, or approximately 2.33 miles of road, paved with 4 inches of asphalt to a 4-inch deep, paved 25 feet wide to a 4-inch depth with asphalt, the projected cost for this project would be approximately $1.7 million. It should be noted that if 100% of the property taxes generated in this area were put towards the construction cost for these road improvements, 9.68 years worth of property taxes would be required to repay the principal alone. Similarly, paying for the spillway project will require 2.68 years worth of property taxes, while paying for an estimated $2 million in dredging costs would require 11.34 years worth of property taxes. In total, between the road improvements, spillway repairs, and dredging cost, there is an estimated total project cost of nearly $4.2 million. This would require 23.66 years worth of property taxes to recover. Again, all of these numbers would be for principal cost alone and would assume that 100% of property tax revenue was being utilized for project cost. When considering these costs, it should be noted that it would be unrealistic to assume that 100% of property tax revenue could be allocated towards project cost. While the city currently performs some road maintenance and mowing, these responsibilities would increase. Additionally, the city would now be responsible for snow removal, policing, codes enforcement, and all other general municipal responsibilities for an additional 233 households. It should be further noted that these estimates assume that 100% of the property owners in the studied area have been annexed into Gardner city limits. If the city were to annex these properties, another option could be the levying of a special assessment against these properties in order to pay for project cost. At a total of $4.2 million in project cost, this equates to a special assessment of approximately $8,026 per property owner for each of the 233 property owners at Gardner Lake. $18,026. Over a 20-year term, this would result in an annual principal value of approximately $901 per property owner. However, as with all other payment scenarios covered in this presentation, It should be noted that this does not include interest payments, which may cause the projected annual payment to increase significantly, up to nearly double in some scenarios. Additionally, it should be noted that many of these properties already have a special assessment for sewer, water, or both levied against them. Of the approximately 233 property owners in this area, 212, or approximately 91%, are subject to Special Assessment LSD 1 Kill Creek 2 for Gardner Lake. The average assessment per owner is $977 per year, which increases to $1,065 per owner when those not assessed are removed. Farther, of the approximately 233 property owners in the area, 68, or 29%, are subject to Special Assessment JCW SAC 9996. The average assessment per owner is $45.91, which increases to approximately $156 per owner when those not assessed are removed. Finally, of the approximately 233 property owners in the area, 65, or about 28%, are subject to both the Kill Creek and JCW assessments. The average assessment per owner is $1,221 per year for those assessed both. It should be noted that benefit districts must meet legal criteria, etc., before it being implemented as well. Finally, during the previous council meeting, Councilwoman Deaton asked that staff determine how many property owners at Gardner Lake are currently residents of Gardner and pay Gardner taxes. Of the approximately 233 property owners, 9, or 3.86%, have all or a portion of their property annexed into Gardner city limits. Of these 9 property owners, 5 also pay dock fees to the city. So on here, you can see anything with the Power G in the background is in Gardner city limits currently and pays taxes. Those that are outlined in red do not have a dock, while the others have a dock as well.
All right, well, thank you, Amy, appreciate that. Discussion from council or questions.
That was fabulous. That was a lot of
Very thorough, thank you.
yes. Appreciate the numbers, although
That's a lot of numbers.
and those numbers are daunting. We understand that. So the folks that are in the current city of Gardner and have docks, have we decided how that would be managed, or is that
What would be managed?
so they're paying Gardner property tax and they're also paying for dock fees?
Yeah, you're talking about 5 people.
Oh, I understand that.
What about?
So is there a question is, okay, the dock fees are per dock out of the lake. Those are going to be assessed regardless of whether they're in the city or not.
So that works. You're putting a dock on the water.
Well, I understand that. Okay, so it's just lake maintenance regardless of whether they're in the city or not. Okay. That's when we were talking about.
We can't hear you.
Oh.
True.
I was speaking in.
Now.
Oh.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Let me pull this. Okay, is that better?
Can you review what you just said there?
All I said was that if you are if you're in the city limits, you're paying dock fees for those 5 people that are in the city limits right now, and that is that those dock fees are made to go towards the upkeep of the lake. Their dock fees are also going to increase, correct? If they decide they're going to want the spillway and dredging projects, correct?
We haven't discussed that.
First, we'd have to see what we're talking about.
Yeah. Okay. So, I guess we don't have any recommendations today. So this is just information more than anything else.
Any other comments before we move to public comments?
I don't know about anybody else. I don't think annexing is feasible or the way to go. And that's just mine.
Use your mic.
Turn your mic on.
Sorry. Annexing, not feasible or the way to go.
No, I agree with that. There's no reason to annex the lake or the property owners around it. I mean, it's a mess. Always has been as far as property lines are concerned.
Yeah, we have roads out there with no easements. So there's no way you can even identify who owns that road.
The greatest scenario would have been if this conversation, any conversation, was held 60 years ago, when the lake properties were on the decline and people weren't building as many out there yet. So, you know, that was a good transition period. Obviously, none of us were involved in that. But now you have a lake that the city owns the water, but essentially can't access, and it's privately held for all intents and purposes, right?
Mhm.
And all the projects are cost prohibitive for the residents out there, and you wouldn't want to put it on the cities, distribute it equally amongst the rest of the city, because they can't access the lake easily. And even, I would love to see the real numbers, if you actually put in an interest number, and then considered that after 25 years, because that was the only way the numbers were
Or
manageable,
20 years. Yeah.
that all of a sudden, all those roads you put in need replaced. And all that maintenance during that time, all those additional things you mentioned, the numbers are triple, 5 times, 8 times. So to be able to do much out there would be extremely difficult. Now that being said, since we have the water and the city hasn't done anything with it, I still think we should find every opportunity for grants to help with the spillway, because we have a liability issue there. We need to take care of that. But I still go back to, I would love to see the residents of the Lake Association, to take the lake from us. We fix the spillway and then deed it to those property owners so they can have their lake for $1. And then we're done with it. And they can do whatever they want with it, however they want to do with it. I don't care. But we should get that spillway taken care of and then pass the torch.
And I've got no problem with that. We just need access to the lake for the Gardner Golf Course. There's
Water
there's
rights.
Water rights.
I mean, there's a spring underneath,
Yeah.
so it's not an issue.
Correct.
I'd like to, I know you're gonna open it for public comment, but I would like to hear from the lake residents and see where
Absolutely.
they're leaning and what questions they have, et cetera. Because I don't know that I'm ready to make a decision, and I don't know that we are supposed to tonight, but
No, this is
I feel like
discussion.
I need more information from the people that live there.
And that's fine. We're going to do that.
Yes. Okay.